The IT BPO industry has contributed significantly to India's growth story, and over the years the industry has matured from being a pure play service provider or a vendor to now a partner for many global technology companies. As India prepares for its next phase of growth and the government embraces some of the flagship programs like the Digital India and the Make in India campaign, it is important for the IT industry to be given its due share as it participates in India's growth story. Especially on the Digital India campaign, it is important for the government to work in sync with the IT industry to embrace some of the technologies in terms of adoption of IT in rolling out some of these programs. On the Make in India side also, with the focus on smart cities and industrial corridors, manufacturing is going to play a very important role. And this is where suitable fiscal policies can be introduced to give the requisite thrust to IT infrastructure and technology as a manufacturing sector embraces technology to bring in efficiency. So essentially, if you look at the budget, there is a lot that the industry is expecting on the policy side, on the fiscal side, as well as on the tax side. Talking about taxes, let's look at direct taxes first. On direct tax, one of the long-standing demands of the industry has been the removal of MAT. Where a complete removal of MAT is not possible, the government could look at a gradual reduction in MAT rates over the years, which will bring down the effective tax cost for IT BPO sector. The scope of retrospective taxation was expanded to bring software transactions within the tax net in 2012. This has caused tremendous hardship for the software industry, and one would hope that the domestic tax law is now aligned to international practices and such transactions relating to software, telecom, bandwidth payments are not taxable under the definition of royalty. On transfer pricing, some positive measures were announced in last year's budget, especially with respect to rollback provisions for APA, the use of interquartile range and multiple year data. While these were positive measures, the administrative guidance around this is not yet out, and one would expect that this would be issued in the run-up to this year's budget. India is also sort of focusing a lot on skill development, especially that is high on the agenda for this government, and it would be helpful if the government can provide some incentives to the IT BPO sector by way of weighted deduction to encourage skill development and training. The IT BPO sector is also contributing to the innovation in a big way, and this is where a weighted deduction for in-house research and development will go a long way in continuing this innovation drive in the sector. Talking about indirect taxes, one of the biggest issue that is plaguing the industry is a dual levy that is there on package software. Today, sale of package software is potentially subject to both taxes, the state taxes and the central taxes. So VAT and service tax both apply, which ultimately results in increased tax cost, increased cost for the consumer. It would be helpful if the government can lend some clarity and in this year's budget. Also on indirect tax, there could be some other compliance measures that could be introduced which could benefit the industry. For instance, on service tax, the exemption limit is currently very low for services. It is set at 10 lakh rupees. This exemption limit could be expanded because the manufacturing limit is much higher. The services that are provided to software technology parks are currently not eligible for exemption, which is something that is available to SEZ units. This effectively results in a huge cash trap for these companies, and it will benefit the industry if a similar exemption can be provided for services that are provided to the STPI units. Also, the mandatory pre-deposit of 10 crore rupees before filing an appeal before the higher appellate authorities is a significant payout for the small and medium enterprises. It would benefit the industry if this threshold could again be lowered for the SME sector. So all in all, there is a lot of that the industry expects from this year's budget. And since the industry has an important role to play in India's growth story and participation in some of the important initiatives of the government, one would hope that the budget will provide the necessary respite and cheer to the industry.